the mind does not play any part, and if you allow mind to play any part, then it is not scientific. But if you take the Sankhya definition of mind as another one of the material forces, even if you cannot quite measure it, then it answers many, many questions about the strange phenomena that occur in nature and that occur in quantum physics. If my life is extended by 100 years, my next career will be as a physicist. I wish I could do that. And I would demonstrate. The Guru has given me the capacity to demonstrate. So, unless the scientists are willing to accept that mind itself is an energy beam, but it is at present not measurable by known instrumentation, only then they would go further in this line of research. Otherwise it is dropped there as an interesting phenomenon, that's it.
We do hear that many of the big scientists...
Pardon?
Many of the big scientists like Einstein and Feynman, in their later years, they either became spiritual or...
Yes. No, Einstein was very spiritual, and so was Newton. And I have a book back in my library in India, Einstein on Religion. I mean, he always said, I'm trying to figure out how is it that God runs the universe. That's what he always said. And that supports the statement I often make, and I made the other day at the University of Minnesota. Science is the most spiritual poem. Science is the most beautiful spiritual poem ever written. I don't see, in terms of this present conflict between science and spirituality. And I'm willing to prove it. Both as a philosopher and as a sort of someone pretending to be a little poet. I can show you how science is poetry, a very spiritual poetry. And Einstein knew the famous German philosopher Schopenhauer, who publicized the teachings of the Upanishads. And I have read the words of Einstein saying, the future religion will be of the kind that Mr. Schopenhauer is teaching. So you are right, And so this apparent diversity between science and spirituality is very artificial, very shallow, and very temporary. Okay? Yeah.
You realize that your experiment has the power to, if people accepted it, to provide a new paradigm.
But
to provide a new paradigm.
Paradigm, that's right, yeah. No, I realize its value, I realize the value of this kind of experiment, but as I said, it requires time, it requires funding, and okay, fine, you can block the beam sitting here. Can you do it for an enemy spaceship? Then I get the funding. Yes, sorry.
What was the control for the Faraday experiment?
The control was just simply that yes and no, yes and no. So many minutes block it, so many minutes unblock it. So during the Unblocked period, it was unblocked. During the blocked period, it was blocked.
Okay. And then they maybe possibly tried this with just a regular man also, trying to do the same
Yeah, Dean Radin, the chief scientist of the institute, he was controlling the computer. In fact, what happened, the first day he did the experiment, I finished the experiment and I had all this crowd of fans sitting in their room trying to see what I might be doing. Maybe some sparks might fly or something. And so they sort of gate crashed for the fun. And so after the experiment was over, he said, Dean Radin said, I will tell you the results in a while. I have to look in the computer what's happening. So we came out and we sat down in his office. And we sat and we sat and we sat, and 45 minutes passed, and then he came out and he said, I'm sorry to say there is nothing in the computer. So I said to all these people, I said, I'm going to do it tomorrow again, and you all don't sit there, you're interfering, your mind is interfering with my mind. So then I did it myself, and then it worked. Otherwise the computer was blank. So there are all sorts of subtleties, And I assure you, I'm a toddler. I'm just learning. I don't do these experiments by way of, by common daily life, because my primary goal is penetration of my own spirituality. I know how many years I've got left, and I have to accomplish something spiritually for myself during that time, and that is my concern. Yeah, Michael.
You talked about sandhis and granthis and chakras.
Mm-hmm.
What are marmas? How do marmas fit into it, and how do we work with that?
Yeah.
61 point.
Okay, Michael asks. You talk about sandhis, granthis, and chakras, and what are marmas? And the same kind of question is asked about the acupuncture meridians. They don't necessarily coincide with the well-known chakras, but they are in their own right certain chakras as well, minor ones, the grid of which is utilized for specific purposes. So there are grids within grids. Let us say you have a grid here, and you have, let us say, 108 points in it. But you can draw the lines in any which way you want and make the energy flow along those lines. So the grid changes within the grid. Follow? And that is the case with the acupuncture meridians. Within the same grid of Kundalini, which points you connect becomes a different grid. So the marma grid, or the 61 points grid, or the 162 point exercise I do, that grid, and so on. Okay. Yeah. Because you can make the energy lines change. Okay? Yeah.